Welcome to the first episode of The Catalyst, and we are here today at the acclaimed restaurant Prosopa in Waterkloof Heights.
Yes, so we're ready to meet our first guest, Jaco Gerrits. He's the CEO and founder of multiple tech companies, but we're going to find out specifically more about Crash Detect. It is the app where he won the Venture South Africa for, sponsored by Chivas Regal, and he's been featured on CNN, Carte Blanche, and Sunday Times. So let's go and meet him. I think it should be fun. So Jaco, thank you very much for joining us. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the invite, and to Pierre, congrats for your birthday and wishing you all the best for the year ahead.
Okay. You're very good with networking. I have a story to tell that I think we met, what was it, 3-4 years ago in 2014. And there was a story, I remember I met you at the Mr. South Africa competition. No, we don't call it pageant. We name it competition.
I like it.
And I remember we were in the final 12 and the judges asked, we were sitting around a table like this, and the judges asked, well, each and every one of us, if you are not to win, who is most deserving to win the competition? And I remember about 9 or even 10 out of the 12 people said, Jaco Gerrits, you should be the winner. So you should be the winner. I just got the one vote, but luckily it was your vote, so it was your vote. But I mean, that was just for me. It shows that people respect you fairly quickly and very easily, and your networking skills. You're very good with networking skills. Yeah, so that was just,
I think for me personally, relationships, it's very important. Maybe it could also be the age factor, because I was about 10 years older than anyone than all the other contestants. So maybe they had to look up to me because I was turning grey.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I'm very big on relationships, not only just in my personal life, but obviously in business as well.
What do you take from the Mr. South Africa, except for the 10 votes that you received?
Yeah, so I think one of the great things is obviously meeting people like you, so that was definitely a big benefit. Over and above that, the platform itself is really a great platform. If you've got a specific goal in mind, my goal was to really focus on entrepreneurship. I always felt that entrepreneurship could be used as a powerful force for good, and it allowed me to establish great relationships with a number of media companies and a lot of individuals that I wanted to work with. So I guess it's different strokes for different folks. Some people come in there and they really want to focus on charity. I'm obviously a big believer in charity, but I'm an even bigger believer in social enterprise. So if you can set something up that has longevity and that is sustainable, I think you can make a much bigger impact.
We do things a little bit differently on this show, and we asked you what's your favorite drink of choice, and you actually said any whiskey or red wine.
Yeah.
So today I've got a bottle of Rupert and Rothschild. Two great families came together to make a beautiful wine. This is the Classique, Merlot and Cabernet. So Jaco,
thanks a lot, Hugh.
Please enjoy while we are having this interview.
I guess the interview is going to become a lot more fun towards the end.
A lot more honest in the end.
Yeah,
I'll come back to Mr. South Africa.
Maybe not.
PJ, you in there? In the Mr. South Africa, yeah, you didn't enter.
But you're a well-rounded, not like me well-rounded, but the fact that you have entrepreneurship and Mr. South Africa, all that says about you believe in balance in life.
Yeah, so I definitely believe in balance.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys.
No, sure.
Yeah, so when it comes to the point of balance, I think it is very important to maintain balance, but I also think it's important that in certain areas or times in your life, you need to make an investment. And investment might not necessarily be investment of money, but there might be investment of time. And that investment will eventually pay off. So nothing worth having comes easy. I always tell that to aspiring entrepreneurs. And some of the hardest years were ones where I had to invest so much time, where other people that were close to me didn't really understand the investment, but I always had very good intentions in terms of what I wanted to achieve and the lifestyle I had in mind. But reality is that it's not always easy. So sometimes you have to make the investment, and then eventually we'll see the benefits of that investment as well.
Definitely, and I think that brings us to our next question. So bigger than Mr. South Africa. Last year, 2016 was a very good year for you. I mean, you won the South African leg of the Venture by Chivas Regal, and you represented our country in New York, where you competed against 27 other entrepreneurs for the app Crash Detect. So in a minute or two, just what is Crash Detect?
So Crash Detect, in short, it's a smartphone app. Once you start driving, it automatically activates. If you're involved in a serious car crash, it picks it up automatically. It will pinpoint your location and immediately dispatch the nearest ambulance. We also supply the paramedics with all of your vital medical information to ensure you receive the correct medical treatment. So in essence, we're trying to address two things. We want to cut down the emergency response time, and we also want to ensure that you get the correct medical treatment.
So that's a very interesting market, the app making industry. I think a lot of people, if you read Entrepreneur magazine, it's a low cost, high profit type of margin. If your WhatsApp's bought $18 billion by Facebook. So I think for entrepreneurs out there also, I think it's quite interesting or want to go into that space. Did you always want to go into that space, or how did you get into that? So did you study something? Or?
Yeah, so I've always been very interested in technology. When I was growing up, we were one of the first people to have a computer on the block. So it fascinated me, so much so that I actually studied up myself around basic programming. So as a very young kid, I wasn't playing games, I was actually doing programming. Now, all things said, it was just an egg on the screen, so that's what I coded. So nothing too comprehensive, but I think really that's where the interest was sparked, and I was always very interested in anything technology related. So yes, I started in my earlier years on web-based solutions, and it just naturally migrated into the app space. I think it's a very exciting space. Also for us, where we are now and where we want to be, it's worlds apart. So we're moving into a contextual awareness space with Crash Detect now specifically, where we'd love to understand more about our consumers in order to provide value to them again. A classic example saying that based on behavior, we'd be able to reduce, let's say, your insurance policy because the risk is less. So I think the app space it's very, very exciting. It's definitely one of those industries that you probably want to be in, especially if you're in the tech space. But also that being said, I also always tell entrepreneurs that it's still just a business. So even though there might be high margins, you still need to understand your acquisition cost. It's not as if you build something and people come running. That's what I thought 14 years ago when I started the first company and made massive mistakes. But the reality is you still need to have a clear idea in terms of how you're going to monetize the business. And for us, what we did with Crash Detect is we actually tested a lot of our assumptions prior to writing one line of code. So we took it to the market, we actually got feedback, we had distribution partners that was already signed up before we even did one line of code. Okay. We went there with a brand and with a couple of screenshots, and we got people to believe in the product. Or we got people to say, we don't believe in this, but we'll believe in a variation of this. And we refined the product up until the point where we said, you know what, this is something that's now ready to commercialize. And only then did we actually go out on risk and develop the technology.
But how did you start the business before it's monetized? So how did you start? Did you have a job on the side, or what would you recommend for someone wanting to start now?
How did you fund your lifestyle? I mean, just starting a business.
Yeah, so it's very, very hard work initially. So I went overseas directly after school. So it was a fun year with all of my good mates. And I think one thing that I took from that year was that I didn't want to work for someone. So I came back to South Africa, and the first thing I did was do a presentation to a mining company where I wanted to do some of the transport. But I mean, it was still completely Greek to me. I mean, completely new to business. I just wanted I knew that I wanted to do my own thing. So yeah, they shot down my proposal, but you know what, it was still great to do a proposal. I had a lot of fun, and I think I learned a lot of valuable lessons as well. And then I started part-time studies for computer science, and during that time I had an opportunity to do training for Anglo Platinum. Also, the same mining company actually that I wanted to do the transport for. Sure. So I did training on Access database back in the day, because the people were struggling to extract data from this database as part of the recruitment drive they had up in the northern province. And I did the training. It was only a 2-day job, and I told the guys, but there's a number of problems that you have on the system, and you know what, I am available and I believe that I'm qualified to assist you. And they believed in what I wanted to do with the platform, and they actually gave me a project for 6 months. So it was a lot of driving up and down down. But I got that 6-month project. As a result of that, they said, okay, but are you willing to set up the Rustenburg Central Recruitment Center, which was a partnership between the Department of Labour and Anglo Platinum. So I ran that project for roughly a year, and there was a lot of lessons that I've obviously learned, but also out of this, I was very protective about the money that I made. So I say, okay, just pay yourself a little bit and build up a little bit of a buffer, because still what you want to do is you want to drive your own companies going forward, and you need a little bit of capital. So I was always saving. And my younger friends couldn't understand this, because they were buying cars and doing all these fun things. And I stayed at home, I saved my money, worked very hard with a very good intent. But I wanted to use the money that I saved to fund my dreams that I had in mind.
So I'm a firm believer in you have to love what you do. I mean, even Steve Jobs said it. So it's clear to me that you actually had a passion for IT from a young age. And is it fair to say that looking back at school, you were always perhaps that typical geek, that computer geek? Is it fair to say? Or
yeah, well, maybe that's a question you should ask some of my friends. So definitely
you had friends. So
I had that's friends, and that's probably a good thing. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe again, I'm not the right guy to ask. So yeah, the reality is I've always loved technology, but even at school, I mean, I was very active. I was always on the tennis court or on the rugby field or playing cricket and trying to balance it quite well. I think in the later years of school, I didn't do too well because I was much more focused on sport. I actually thought that I was going to become a professional golfer, and you guys played with me, so you must also admit that maybe that was not a good idea.
Well, they still beat us, so yeah, it says a lot about our golf.
But yeah, no, I've always loved technology, but I think the one thing that I found out about myself is that I love business more. So I love to focus on obviously businesses that has technology at top of mind, but reality is also that every business nowadays could be considered or should be considered as a technology business.
It's very important. You say you try different things. Every business got technology in it. So what's your opinion about focus? Because a lot of people say focus on one thing or not. How do you focus on a business or where?
Yeah, no, I think focus is very important, and I think there's some entrepreneurial thought leaders that call it obsession, and sometimes you have to be obsessed in order to see something through. And to be honest, I see those traits in myself as well. So once I've got something that I want to take to market, I've got an idea in mind, I'm really focused on that one specific idea. I don't allow for distractions. So I'll say that this is the project that's going to be focused on now.
So you only pick one.
Absolutely. So I wouldn't run 2 new startups at once. I'll start up a business, make sure that it's operationally effective, and then move on to the next project. Okay. But I think it's very important to keep your finger on that business up until such point where you can actually step away. Not in the entirety, but at least have a competent team in place in order to run the operational structure.
A lot of people say, I've got an idea, I want to do a app, I want to start this business, but I don't like sales. I don't want to be a pushy salesman. I hate sales. Would you say that's one of the skills you need to have? Or is it something you can learn?
So, being a lone or sole entrepreneur, absolutely, you have no choice. If you asked Jaco 14 years ago, is this necessary? He would have said no. I remember this was really a personal challenge to me, and this is probably why I love entrepreneurship so much. If you're a sole entrepreneur, wherever you're lacking, you need to develop yourself. You literally have no option but to grow. And also, as people, we've got a tendency to navigate back towards that what is very comfortable. For me, it was the technical side. So I loved coding. I would code and think that I'm very busy and I'm being very productive. But reality is, the solution I'm coding, where is the market? How am I going to take this to market? I had to have some kind of sales strategy in place, and I also needed somebody to assist with sales. I didn't have the luxury of any capital, so it had to be me. But I was too scared to do sales.
Okay, so don't just say I'm not good in sales, I'm not going to do it. So you say try. You should try.
Yeah, no, I think you can develop in all areas. So for me, it didn't come naturally at all. And I think you need to be very self-aware as an entrepreneur. So for me, it was intentionally shying away from that which I'm not comfortable with. And the great thing is, as soon as you place yourself in an uncomfortable situation, there's personal growth. And that's really why I love entrepreneurship. So coming back to Mr. South Africa, still maybe a little bit uncomfortable taking off my shirt in front of people who want to take pictures.
Don't do it now.
Yeah.
Definitely not now.
Not prerequisite on this show.
I don't want
It's a family show.
But the reality is you are going to be confronted with a lot of challenges as an entrepreneur and in your business as well. And it's how you deal with these challenges that are ultimately going to define success.
So, you've been on CNN, Carte Blanche, for the right reasons, and a lot of publications and Sunday Times as well. What would you say on this journey was your highlight, or one of the highlights?
So I think for me personally, it was a personal goal to be featured on Carte Blanche. So when I started,
I almost thought you were going to say catalyst, but we'll get
it was the catalyst.
You peaked now.
yeah, this is your big way to get from here.
Absolutely. So I mean, this is definitely great. But yeah, I think Carte Blanche was a big highlight, and the reason for that is when I started the company. Funny enough, I got in touch with Derek, and I said that we want to see how we can get you involved one way or another, even if it's a voiceover or maybe with the launch of the company. We know that this is a major national problem, and we are positively contributing towards this issue. So that's where we started, but always with the intent to be featured on Carte Blanche, which didn't work out initially. So it was a lot of hard work over a period of about 2.5 years until Carte Blanche actually came to us and they said, okay guys, we want to feature you now. So we're really looking forward to the doors that we're open and the new relationships that are on the table. And yet again, we're going to try our level best to expand the company as quickly as possible.
I think you must have a lot of highlights when this doesn't even make the highlight count. So I looked on Instagram the other day and I saw, I'm following Trevor Noah.
Okay.
Trevor Noah, and I saw there's actually a selfie Trevor Noah took, and you are in the selfie, right? You are at the back. I'm just going to show you're at the back, but with the 27 entrepreneurs, with Trevor Noah and Eva Longoria.
Longoria,
Yeah, so that must have been a highlight, I can assure.
It was. I mean, yet again, it was part of the venture, and I think just on that point, the venture is an amazing platform, and to any social entrepreneurs that watch this show, please have a look at what the guys are doing. They've got $1 million in total available to support and assist aspiring and also current entrepreneurs, and really it's all about making the world a better place. And these guys, in terms of a competition, I've never been subjected to a competition that's run this professionally and where people really commit and say or actually do what they say that they're going to do. So a great platform, and to anybody watching the show, maybe go and have a look at that as well.
Okay.
So now we're going to do we call it the Quickfire minute on the show. So just tell us the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. So PJ, take it away. Good
Rugby,
start.
cricket or golf?
Rugby.
Bike or run?
Bike, definitely.
In golf, chipping or putting?
Putting.
Oh, you're good at it. Scarlett Johansson or Kate Middleton?
Scarlett.
Oh, okay.
Chivas Regal or Jack Daniels?
Chivas Regal.
Obvious.
All day long.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Speed or power?
Speed.
Cheese or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Sweet
Favorite place in South Africa?
Cape Town.
tooth. Favorite superhero?
Superman.
PJ or Hugh?
It's a difficult one. No, so that was it. So you've had this amazing year last year. 2016 was amazing for you. Crash Tech was successful. What next can we expect from Jaco Gerrits? I mean, Catalyst is going to launch your career even more.
Absolutely.
So what next to expect from you?
Yeah, so I think this year is going to be a very exciting one. We're looking at introducing driver behavior, which will allow us to do contextual awareness on our members. And then the next phase for us is to look at potentially doing peer-to-peer insurance. So if we understand our member effectively, we'd be able to understand the risk as well. So we're looking at insurance partnerships, but we're also looking at potentially underwriting the risk ourselves. So I think within that space there's a very exciting opportunity, and also Crash Tech is probably going to keep me personally busy until about the middle of the year. Obviously we want to get the new features into the market, and also the offshore opportunities, we definitely want to explore those in more detail. But then I want to migrate towards the new business, which I've been sitting on for the last 2 years. So I still believe that there's massive contributions that we can make in the lower income groups. So I'll give you a little bit of a hint. It's within the stockfell industry, and just adding value and addressing a lot of the pain points that they currently experience using technology. So I'm very excited about getting involved with that, but in the same sentence, I'm also just as excited about seeing out the last few features that we obviously need to launch with Carte Tech.
No, Jaco, so thank you very much. I can see you're obviously a very busy person, so we do appreciate the time and just looking forward to the future.
And hopefully we have you back one day again.
Yeah.
On Carte Blanche again, hopefully for the right reasons.
We do hope that we are on there for the right reasons again. And just from my side, thanks a lot for the interview. I think what you guys are doing, it's really great, and wishing you all the best as well.
Thanks,
man.
I'll cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.